Did stream just shut down for a second? What the I hate my Wi-Fi, man. I just saw the thing flash. I don't know. Shrinkflation and greedflation are ruining our economy. True. Don't you know they were price fixing eggs? Coping okay. Greedflation. It's real. Look it up. I gotta throw this away. I'll be back. Hold on. Let me look up funny bunny videos. Here we go. Bunny's being cute. Okay, enjoy. Trumpflation is gonna be bad. It could on our. Some of the tariffs could actually have pretty negative effects on certain things. like fucking PS5s, dude. PS5 tariffs and PS5s gonna be horrible. Look at this guy. Oh. Oh, he doesn't want to be in stream. Oh, he's fucking killing on my... Oh, he's sitting back where he was at the beginning. Or he'll just sit on my mouse. He can do that too, I guess. Dude, did the stream just crash? Why does this happen? Hello?
Why did your stream get nuked?
Hey, bro, I don't think I got nuked. I think it just crashed. I think it's just my Wi-Fi. It's dumb.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, it should restart.
Okay.
Do you not believe me? Do you think I'm lying, or?
No, I believe you.
Sounds like you don't believe me.
Problem.
Yeah, I don't really know why it happens. Okay, I do kind of... This guy. Kind of in the way of my mouse. Oh, there he goes. I should get a cat bed for this, so he can sit right there. Oops. Huh. Well, looks like it's back up, right? Yeah, it restream automatically makes a new one, which is good. I don't know. It's fucked. It turns off monetization, though. I need my money. I need the 10 cents that it gets me, bro. Monetization on. Done. YouTube insert automatically balanced. Save. Okay. Objection. Free trade harms the United States. Protectionists frequently claim that free trade harms the United States. This is a fuzzy argument as long as it doesn't specify what the alleged harm is and who exactly is the victim. Later chapters will consider objections related to specific harms: the trade deficit, the loss of manufacturing, the loss of jobs, and the lowering of wages. One way to construe a general argument for the harmful character of free international trade is to posit that the costs outweigh its benefits. Okay. Protectionists will argue free trade harms the U.S. Although this argument can be fuzzy without listing who exactly is harmed, free trade outweigh. God fucking damn it! Did this crash again? Outweighs it benefits. I don't know. I saw the thing flash. I don't know if it... Oh, yep. It says I've been streaming 30 seconds on Twitch, so I must have again. I love my Wi-Fi when it does that for no reason. That's so cool. That's so sick. Let's go. In other words, perhaps a trade harms the United States because the cost in terms of imports higher than its benefits measured in exports. Indeed, imports have been larger than exports since the 70s. The main problem with this argument is that it inverses the costs and benefits of trade. In reality, imports are the benefits that flow from trade, and exports are the cost. One way to measure this would be viewing. Wait, what are we protecting? You're protecting your mother from my massive cock? Get fucked. Get fucked, dude. Studying the cost, or one way to... That can be done by construing imports construing. That's a word, right? Am I making that up? Construing imports as a cost of trade outnumber our exports, which are the benefits. In reality, imports are the benefits that flow from trade and exports are the cost. Moreover, when we use a methodological correct method to calculate costs and benefits, it may show that benefits of trade are actually larger than its cost. However, imports are really the benefit from trade, and exports the cost. Are exports really... I don't know what they mean by exports at a cost. I would still say exports benefit us. It's just... And using a methodologically correct method to calculate constant benefits. It can be shown in benefits trade. The benefits of free trade. Are larger than its cost. Oh, he's leaving. Goodbye. This chapter demonstrates the 2 points. And imports are a benefit, exports are a cost. The mercantilists of the 16th and 18th century thought that a country should export as much as possible, import as little as possible. This is an economic error, just as the individual sells goods or labor in order to buy something. Countries export in order to import. As James Mills wrote nearly 200 years ago, the benefit which is delivered from exchanging one commodity for another arises in all cases from the commodity received, not from the commodity given. Exports are a cost because the United States uses its resources to produce goods and services for foreign countries. Well, that generates income for America. Okay, but anyway. Imports are a benefit because the United States uses the resources of foreign countries to obtain its own goods and services. Although this would be a really good way. This is actually a really good way to frame it to conservatives who think that, who have the anti-foreign bias and just think that like China is winning at trade. That's actually, we have a trade deficit, right? That means the U.S. is taking other countries' goods and services and using them for our own benefit. Okay. Just like individuals, sells goods, sell goods or labor in order to buy something. Countries export in order to import. Exports are cost because the United States uses resources to produce goods and services for foreign countries. Imports are a benefit because the United States uses the resources of foreign countries to obtain its own goods and services. So contrary to what the mercantilists thought, the United States should import as much as it can and export as little as possible, assuming it were possible to maintain this regime for long. A reductio ad absurdum of the mercantilist argument is easy. Imagine the United States ships its exports by sea, and that the returning ships bring back imported goods. If the returning ships sank, would this situation of exports without imports be a benefit for the United States? Obviously not. The term concessions used in international trade negotiations describe the imports that a country will accept in exchange for the exports it wants to ship. It's deeply misleading. This is an important point to grasp in order to understand the economic approach to trade. For a country's residents, the so-called concessions are the benefits, while the exports are the cost. Jagdish Bhagwati, I can't really say that, a leading contemporary trade economist, expresses the same idea. There's a danger that the excessive use of the language concession in trade bargaining can lead, and has indeed led, to a widespread bureaucratic and political acceptance of the wrong-headed view that import liberalization is expensive rather than gainful, and must be offset by concessions for one's exports. Oh, hey, I'm streaming again, dude. Let's go. That's crazy. Crash again? Oh, I love my Wi-Fi, man. That's so cool. Fire, let's go. Let's go. What even happened? Oh, I didn't update the YouTube chat. Fuck. I just found out YouTube Shorts live stream have a cap on viewers that can be recommended if you have 1,000 subs. That's fuck. Wait, really? No, my YouTube short streams are gonna fall off, bro. That can't be true, right? Hold on, let me activate the YouTube chat again. I do like the... Okay, so if the U.S. were to ship its exports by sea no opposite? What do you mean no opposite? They have a cap on viewers unless you have 1,000 subs? Or better if you have over 1,000? You said it. They cap it if you have over 1,000. Super export by sea. Into ships. Holding its imports. Sink on the way back. What is your peak viewership? Technically, I think on YouTube Shorts, I actually had 42 concurrent viewers at one point. That was my absolute peak on like one YouTube short stream a few days ago. Yeah. I think on Twitch my peak viewership was like 20 or 21 or something. I think on regular YouTube it's probably under 20 still. Was probably the peak. Well, no, it had to have been over 20 for some point. I don't know. I don't know what it was in regular YouTube. But this situation, exports without imports would benefit the United States. Obviously not. Government in the United States uses its resources to produce goods and services for exportation. Needs to be qualified in a free country. Resources belong not to the country as a single entity to us, but to different individuals or private groups, including corporations separately. America is not a single entity, but a collection of millions of individual Americans. At least in a free society, country is just a shorthand for the individuals who compose it. It follows that free trade can harm a country only if it harms the individuals who constitute the country. In economics, exchange and its benefits. Sunso got 120 viewers as soon as he turned on his stream. Well, I mean, he has more subs than me, but does he usually get out 120 on his short streams? I've seen him do short streams a few times. I feel like he did not have that when I looked at it, but that, like, doesn't he has, like, not, I guess not quite double my subs anymore, but in economics, the exchange and benefits occupy a central place. The basic idea is that both parties derive benefits, or at least expect benefit from any exchange in which voluntarily participate. What if I have over 50 and under 1,000 subscribers? To help make YouTube a safe community for everyone, we may limit the number of viewers on your mobile live stream. Also, your archive live stream will be set to private by default. It may take a few weeks to reflect it. Okay. Wait, why do they do? How does that even make YouTube a safer place? How does that do anything? The benefits of exchange obviously apply to trade between a national and foreigner, which is nothing but exchange over a political border. How could free trade harm a country if it benefits the individuals who compose it? I'm guessing some OF girl could get thousands of subs and viewers in a few hours. Are you saying that's why if there's no limit? But I mean, it shouldn't be that hard for her to get 1,000. Well, I don't know, maybe. Oh, you know what? I bet it probably does prevent. I bet there are those like YouTube short scam things, right? Where like they literally I remember there was controversy over people like would have multiple accounts like streaming like the same like pre-recorded stream of them like it'd be like guess the Fortnite skin I don't have, and if you do I'll pay you $100, and they just have like a fake interface that has every skin, so you can't possibly guess their wrong skin. But they didn't even, it wasn't even live, it was just a pre-recorded video, and people would donate to try to guess the skin. But yeah, I would assume it might prevent scams like that, because people would literally have, like I said, multiple channels all streaming the same thing. Settle channel with someone after purchasing the bots. Oh, okay, that makes sense too. Okay. Your stream is chill and reminds me of Destiny. Thank you, Mike Lightyear. I appreciate it. It's chill right now. Things will... Sometimes we do heated things. Sometimes. I'm excited to see if your viewership spikes and how hard. We'll see. I feel like I... Actually, this might actually explain why that one YouTube Shorts did so well. Because I think I reached 1,000. I reached 1,000 subscribers on one of the short streams that did really well. Yeah, I believe it was this one. Yeah, debate until 1K subs. This got a lot of views. Peaked 27. Oh, this couldn't have been it then, because I swear I peaked at 42 on one of them. But yeah, it got a lot. How do I see how many total views it got? This was after I reached 1,000 subs though, and it only had... This only had 9 peak viewers. Found you through the last hippy dippy. And it was pulled on by your knowledge and debate. Thank you. See that? Aw, hell yeah. Based. Debating CTV again tomorrow, by the way. So, 8 p.m. tomorrow EST. I feel like you should be able to do better. You might think about doing part of the short stream, being able to call in, call to action to debate. Yeah, I feel like. I mean, I noticed like the streams do pretty well whenever I hop on like Glenn's panel, or like none of them are streaming right now, or like they'll start streaming later today. Raging Tomato, her panels. Whenever I like start to stream out with like those debate panels, they do pretty well. But 1/3 of the screen saying debate me in some link. Yeah, those streams seem to do well on YouTube, so. Okay, okay, nice to make your country. So generally, I'll say both parties derive benefits or expect to benefit from any exchange in which they voluntarily participate. Otherwise, at least one party would decline the deal. So the benefits of exchange obviously apply to trade between a national and a foreigner. You got 4K watch hours? Yeah, I actually reached 4K watch hours before 1,000 subs. Why should we expect free trade to harm a country if it benefits the individuals who compose it? Nice, on the road to apply for. I already did apply. I am monetized on YouTube. I've already made $3 whole. $2.45 of that was a super chat. So I've made less than $1. Free trade carries net benefits. Of course, some individuals may lose. For example, the shareholders of a corporation outcompeted by foreign firms, or the workers who have to find new jobs in another company or industry. It can be shown, however, that individuals generally net benefit from free international trade. Some people may lose from trade. Like shareholders and workers at a company. Oh, no way. Tempura Sarasto si Batlako. Of course. You're so right, brother. Like shareholders and workers at a company. Competed by foreign competition. Have you monetized your old videos? Some of them aren't eligible, but yeah. Is that automatic? Yeah, it's automatic, although a lot of mine aren't eligible because they're like reaction content and stuff. We can see some of them, a lot of them are ineligible. But these are on. Ineligible. Limited. Why is this limited? Content identified as not suitable for most advertisers. Bad words? Maybe. I might have had a... I know, you can't swear in the first 7 seconds or whatever. Previously, I did not care if I had swearing in the first 7 seconds of the intro because I'm not monetized, and now I probably should care about that. I have to be careful not to do that anymore. But some of the reaction content is ineligible anyway. Retard bitch, genocide dick, yeah. However, it still has net benefits. We already presented a demonstration. A producer of a country specializes in what they have. Consumers are free to import or can produce sufficiently more abroad than each country ends up with more consumers. Economic theory provides another sort of demonstration by following what happens when a protective measure such as tariffs or an equivalent quota is applied or repealed. The comparative rape is fast demonetization anywhere in the video. Okay, good to know. The comparative advantage model shows I think you'll explode in viewership so long as you keep streaming consistently and engage with others, hopefully. I appreciate it, Mike Lightyear. We've been doing good recently. Like, if I do something more interesting than reading, I'll actually get like I'll maintain like 10 viewers on both Twitch and YouTube, which is pretty good. And there's some on Rumble and Twitter and DLive and Kick, but those people barely count. Also, don't use the phrase Stop bitching about XYZ. Okay. Countries can end up with more goods and services. Computer can tell the difference between the turn of a phrase and calling woman a bad word. I guess that makes sense. If they specialize and engage in trade. And more models can show what the effects of tariffs and tariffs or import quotas are. Using this approach can be improved in that in virtually all cases, protection generally generates a net cost compared to free trade. Alternatively, free trade generates a net benefit compared to protection. A tariff increases the domestic price of a good, including the price in a market share supplied by domestic producers. Indeed, that is precisely why the tariff is imposed. In a general case of an unchanged world price, a tariff will end up being paid entirely by the domestic consumer in the form of a higher price. Crazy though, sounds like a short live stream and you got 3K views. On average, viewership of 40 or something. Crazy 70 watch hours. You got paid 86 cents. I mean, 86 cents, I guess, is a decent amount for one live stream, but that's kind of funny. 70 watch hours, 86 cents. Let's go. Let's go. I don't really know how ads work on this short live stream. I've never seen an ad on a short live stream. Well, I guess I have YouTube Premium, so it kind of makes sense, but I got paid like awesome. Tariff increases the domestic price of a good, including the price in the market. In a market share supplied by, including the price from domestic producers. That is precisely why the tariff is imposed. The most common case of an unchanged world price a tariff will end up being paid entirely by domestic consumers in the form of a higher price. The world price is the price at which it can be imported into world markets. The tariff is added to the unchanged world price for consumers of the country in which it is imposed. Domestic consumers lose and domestic producers gain, but the consumer loses more than the producers gain, so the tariff creates a net loss. Why is this true? What's a tariff on imported goods? Domestic consumers lose and domestic producers gain, but the consumers lose more than the producers gain. Never seen this graph before. That's crazy. The deadweight loss. That's good. The added consumer surplus. What? What? So the tariff creates a net loss. Why is this true? Because if the tariff had net benefits, it would not be necessary. Domestic producers could, by lowering prices in normal course of competition, attract consumers into patronizing them instead of buying imports. This is true because if the tariff had net benefits, it wouldn't be required as domestic producers. This is a cool way of framing it. Domestic producers could, by lowering prices in normal course of competition, attract customers into patronizing them instead of buying imports. The fact that domestic producers cannot do this proves that they gain less from protection than customers lose, or seen from the other side, that the loss suffered by producers from free trade is more than offset by the gain to consumers. When the protectionist measure is used, that uses a tariff as opposed to an import quota or subsidy to a producer, the proof is not complete and requires a second step. The previously determined net cost of the tariff must be reduced by the tariff revenues that flow to the Treasury's offices, COFRs. In addition to paying an excess price to domestic producers, consumers pay foreign products in excess price that is equivalent to the tariff. The latter will have to pay. So part of the tariff forces consumers to pay will be returned to them in the capacity of recipients of the government services, assuming the government does not waste money. I heard someone say the whole point of tariff is to increase prices. They wouldn't exist if they didn't do that. Well, yeah, that's the point of tariffs, ideally, is to increase the price of foreign products so you incentivize people to buy domestic products. Now, you do also increase the price of domestic products because, one, you reduce price competition because now they are no longer competing against the foreign sector, right? The foreigners that were competing with them previously, so they can increase prices. There's less competition. And then two, there's more demand for domestic production now. So that's going to increase prices too, because, if the demand curve shifts right, then obviously it's going to be more. There's going to be higher prices. That's the whole point of tariffs. Now universal tariffs would do a really bad job of that for a number of other reasons. But yeah, in the debates, you should call it big government controlling your life. I do this it's a good way to frame it. I do this sometimes, because it's true. It is the government imposing on free markets to try to get some outcome that they don't have the information to make. The government suffers from a lack of information. The great thing about the free market is it aggregates information. Why do you think the U.S. federal government knows what job is preferable to have in the U.S.? A steel job or a car manufacturing job or an accountant, right? The U.S. government does not have that information. Individuals do, and the free market aggregates that information. And can determine a job for you without any deadweight loss from a tariff. Of course, does not mean that each consumer will receive an augmented government service exactly what he or she has paid in tariffs to protect a good. Typically, some will receive more and some will receive less, depending on how much of the tariff's good they buy and how much of the government services they consume. Some government redistribution is involved, even if it's impossible to quantify with precision. It is not only trade liberalization that causes too complex redistribution effects. Protectionism does too. One might think that a tariff would have no net cost because what consumers lose is gained by domestic producers and by the domestic treasury, but this is not true. Alright, so I'll say with tariffs, some money is also collected by the government and can be spent. How should I phrase this? I was thinking, and can be spent on the citizenry. Importantly, however, some of this will go towards someone will receive more and others less, depending on how much of the tarot's good they buy and how much of the government services they consume. So protectionism has redistribution effects the same way free trade does. What am I thinking? No net cost because pay by the treasury, blah, blah, blah. But what domestic producers in the treasury receive does not totally offset the cost of the protected goods. There remains a net cost that economists call deadweight loss. What? Crazy. Okay, the gain to consumers, producers, the gain to producers and the government, and what the government collects as tax revenue does not totally offset the cost to producers or to consumers of a protected good. There remains a net cost economists call deadweight loss. Same with immigration, big government telling people who they can. Exactly. Who they can and can't sell their labor to. Imposing on free markets. Deadweight loss is a measure of distortion in the allocation of resources. Domestic resources that were previously used could still be used to produce goods that were reallocated to produce domestically additional quantity of the protected goods. This is because the higher price domestic producers can get incites them to spend more and increase the quantity they supply. This increases domestic output. This increased domestic output is a waste and produces deadweight loss because the good in question could be and was before imported at a better price, while domestic producers were able to produce something else instead. Okay. So how on YouTube missed your question? Definitely not 120, but YouTube Shorts does a lot better than normal. Okay. That is true, but... Okay, deadweight loss measures the distortion in the allocation of resources. After a tariff is imposed, domestic resources previously used and still could be used to produce other goods are reallocated to produce domestically an additional quantity of the protected good. This is because the higher domestic producing get incites some to spend more and increase the quantity of supply. This increased domestic output is a waste in deadweight loss because of the good was imported at a better price. 13 to 14, and a 2 to 3. When it was 120 peak and 42 average. Damn. Does he stream to both shorts and regular YouTube at the same time, or does he just do shorts on YouTube? Last time I think I saw him just doing shorts on YouTube and streaming regularly on Twitch, I think, which could work. I don't know. The higher price producers can get, domestic producers can get, incites them to spend more and increase the quantity of supply. However, this increased domestic output. No shorts to max viewership from YouTube and improve the algorithm. Okay. This increased domestic output. Usually I stream both. If I'm just reading like I am now, I don't stream much shorts because I think it probably hurts me more than it helps me. Just stream on shorts and immediately get people scrolling away because I'm just reading random nonsense. If you split, then you're splitting your fans and getting non on shorts. What do you mean splitting my fan? I mean, like, people in the shorts live stream feed will get it in the shorts live stream feed. People watching regular YouTube will most of the time get the regular stream. Sometimes YouTube is annoying and promotes the short stream to people on the YouTube homepage, which is really dumb. I don't know why they do that, but I don't know. Like 90% of the people that are in the shorts thing are usually like new people. So it's like I don't feel like I'm splitting my fans really, and if they prefer to watch it vertical, then like give them an option. Yeah. This increased domestic output is a waste and produces a deadweight loss. Deadweight loss because the good in question could be imported at a better price while domestic producers were able to produce something else instead. So you have 10 fans who always watch you. Is it better to have all 10 on vertical than it is to have on than live stream, as it will be seen by more successful and sent to more people? I don't know. Does it really have that big of an effect? I don't want people. But there's a lot of people that like watching the horizontal stream though. And the short stream gets shown to like 90% new people. But I don't know. Maybe I can try it, but. Another component of deadweight loss is what consumers lose because they decrease the quantity they demand and the total consumption of the protected good because of its price has increased in the market. The deadweight loss is a straight waste that benefits no one. Domestic resources are used to produce something that could have been imported more cheaply, and consumers have to reduce their consumption. This deadweight loss benefits no one. John Eastman came out today saying that fraud is clear if you simply compare real wages to inflation. Can you answer that unironically? Do you still believe unironically that you should compare real wages to inflation? If you don't answer that unironically, I'm banning you, okay? Something Domestic resources are being wasted to produce something. Glad Twitch has taken half nude e-girls off the front page and it's back to a more civilized setting. Damn. Yes, this is a strong belief I hold. Okay. Don't real rages take inflation into account. Yep, he's just mega retarded, okay? No matter how many times me and there's another person who explained to him as well, we break it down, he does not get it. I don't understand. He's adjusting for inflation twice. It makes no sense to do this. It is entirely illogical. No economist does this, and I can't tell if he's trolling or not because it's so incredibly fucking retarded that there's no way he should be able to believe this. But could have been imported cheaper. Consumers must reduce their consumption. Since something's wasted, the total cost of the tariff to consumers is higher than the total benefit from domestic producers. Conversely, free trade carries net benefits in a sense that all individuals could potentially benefit by the removal of deadweight loss. Yeah, real wages would be a useless metro ticket. It didn't take place into account. What? Raise your hand if your grocery bill went up by 20% in the last 4 years. That sounds about right. But you should also take into account wage growth, right? Groceries right now are cheaper in terms of hours worked, in terms of their time price, than they were from the average of 2015 to 2019. AKA the majority of Trump's, the average of Trump's entire presidency. Obviously during the last year before COVID, 2019, I think they're close to being about the same actually. But I'm sure we'll get his check, actually. Fred, CPI. Groceries. Food at home. AKA groceries. So we do... Well, I mean, it works if I do both of them as an index, right? Because you said, like, up from 20%. So let's just... Here, we'll do index. We'll do, you said, the last 4 years. So let's just do the start of 2020. And then add average hourly earnings of non-supervisory and production employees. And then add, then we put, oh, wait, so then I have to do it the other way around, right? Because when I have to put the wages over, can I do B over A? Does it let me do that? $2019 This is 0.7. Crazy. Okay, free trade net benefit, blah, blah, blah. According to most economists, the only serious challenge to domestic demonstration just presented the optimal tariff argument. This argument posits a special case in which the world price of a good is not fixed, as was assumed previously. Suppose a country... Don't forget to take account who is sitting in the whites when you need to add $100 for my feelings. Oh, true. Yeah, dude, that graph of the fucking like consumer sentiments, right after Trump's elected, and like Republicans shot way up and Democrats shot way down. Oh, kill me. Hold on, give me a second. Okay. The only solid objection to this is this is math. What is this? Nominal wage growth, inflation, real wage growth. Are they still... This doesn't... What deflator are they using? What wage growth are they using? There's so, like... You know how many... It's so dumb. You are incredibly so fucking stupid. I can show you an infinite number of charts, and you reject it out of hand, and you literally just link me a PNG of the EPI chart. Which, by the way... It doesn't even look like real wages. I mean, this is real wages. This is real wage growth. You understand this is showing real wages are going up, by the way, right? Do you understand it says real wage growth? So even if it's going down, that's the remember how you always complain about they say inflation is down, but it just means that the rate at which price is increasing is going down, not the prices themselves are going down. You just fell for that same fucking trap. This is telling you that real wages are going up because even this dip here doesn't reach to zero, okay? So it's not saying real wages are going down. It's saying the rate at which real wages are increasing has slowed. So you just fell for your own fucking trap that you get so mad at people for falling into about inflation. Like, holy shit, you are so retarded. Optimal tariff argument. This assumes that the world price is not fixed. I agree, rates and cumulative are different. Wait, can you admit that that chart does not show that real wages are going down? You understand that, right? That chart does not show real wages are going down. In fact, it shows real wages have only gone up. You can admit that. Please admit that. So why compare wage growth to CPI? What? Can you admit that that chart did not show real wages going down? I'm waiting. So real wages are up. So that chart agrees with me. Just so we're clear. So that was completely fucking pointless that you showed me that chart. Because you were a fucking idiot and thought it showed real wages going down. I meant nothing, I'm always correct. Thank you for the follow, Bass Guitar, by the way. Bass Guitar. Guitar. Welcome to the stream. That chart, it also doesn't specify what deflator it's using and what waves measurement it's using, but... So it's the rate in which real wages increasing is, well, decreasing, you mean. Yeah, the rate at which they're increasing is decreasing. Because interest rates are fucking 5%. Because we had a major inflationary, like, this is, like, we weakened the labor market when we raised interest rates to fight inflation. Correct. Great job. Our interest rates are, what, at 4.75 now? Federal funds rate. Because they just cut them again. Yeah, 4.7, 4.5, 4.75. Also, taking graph out of context, it's basically just lying. He doesn't he says that exact same thing to me, but as soon as the graph supports him, he will cite it, even though it doesn't it's not. Yeah, it's completely out of context. Doesn't even list what deflator is using. Doesn't list what measure of wage growth is using, because there's different ways to measure inflation. There's different ways to measure wage growth, but as soon as it sides with him, it's perfectly fine. Which is why he cited at me, thinking it sided with him, but it actually sides with me, so. So things are getting better, slower than before. This is kind of what they all do. Well, like, yeah, but like, that's not necessarily a bad sign, because we had a really fast wage growth in post-COVID, because of the super tight labor market caused by the fiscal stimulus. So the fact that wage growth is slowing, it's not necessarily a bad sign. It's kind of a sign. It's kind of a sign that interest rates are actually doing their job. That's kind of like, it's not necessarily a bad sign. It's not necessarily a good sign, because that means the rate at which real purchasing power is increasing is also is not increasing as much, right? So not necessarily good, but it's a sign that interest rates are doing their job. It's more of an argument for cutting rates than it is for Americans are, like, worse off or whatever. The only point was to compare they did not compare real. Do you think that chart compares real wages to inflation? Because that's not what that does. This says nominal wage growth, and they compare it to inflation, and they have real wage growth as the result of comparing nominal wage growth to inflation. You understand that, right? They're not comparing real wage growth to inflation here, as evidenced by the fact that inflation and real wage growth are separate. They don't have an inflation-adjusted real wage growth on this graph. What's up, Chris? Welcome back. Why should he have an independent Fed central bank when people did not vote on the Fed? Because voters are fucking dumbasses, and they haven't. Voters don't. It's very politically unpopular to raise interest rates. So you don't want the Fed. You don't want the Fed to be in control of politicians, because they don't have any incentive to raise the interest rates. They have their incentives are more aligned with helicoptering money into the economy, which causes massive inflation. That's why you don't really want the central bank to be independent. The data is clear on this. Why the politicals are not. I just explained why the politicals do not control the Fed, because their incentives aren't aligned with it. Their incentives are aligned with helicoptering money more than they are with raising interest rates to combat inflation. Also, politicians don't have the relevant knowledge that a lot of Fed chairmen have, a lot of the people in the FOMC have, a lot of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors have. Politicians aren't economists. Voters certainly aren't fucking economists. Voters don't understand shit about the economy. I don't think you understand how that works either, really. Like, the data is clear on this. Like, the more independent a central bank is, the less inflation a country has. Like, we have data on this. Which I can find somewhere. How you defend from sabotage and hostility from Fed employees. Well, Fed employees can be impeached if you have cause, or can't be fired if you have cause. But that just doesn't, it doesn't seem to happen. I don't even by hostile sabotage. Like, there are mechanisms for this. Like, are saying that people would vote to have a 0%. People fucking hate raising the interest rate. Yeah, because they don't understand it's probably in their long-term interest. I don't believe it. But the incentives of politicians are not generally aligned with raising interest rates. People really hate having higher interest rates in things like credit cards and their mortgages. I mean, if we just had Trump literally won on a platform of saying he's going to lower rates. You know that, right? Trump won by saying that he doesn't like Fed independence, and he is going to make sure interest rates are low, and he's going to cap credit card interest rates, and can society work with zero interest rates? Interest rates were basically zero from 2008 to 2018. So, it is possible, sure. Interest rates are, basically during any recession, they put interest rates at zero. So, you just generally don't want 0% interest rates in, a boom. Also, the interest rate's the easiest way for the Fed to kind of do monetary policy. So if they're already at the 0% interest rate, it's really hard to do negative rates, and they have to start engaging in other tools like quantitative easing, which generally they don't like doing. Yeah. I think a lot of voters think that he's going to make prices come down too low. Well, a lot of voters, not understanding inflation accumulate. Yeah, they don't understand. A lot of voters probably I don't understand the mechanisms by which interest rate increases, can decrease inflation, because they're just everything, the price of everything is going up, and you're going to raise interest rates, which makes my mortgage go up. Yeah, doesn't help. Turkey, for example, does not have an independent central bank and has massive inflation. Correct, Dunk Pinku. But we have there's a study on this, which I have. Somewhere. Probably in here. First of all, we can, from the human action principle, clearly see that, not the human action. But there's good reasons to believe that politicians have bad incentives when it comes to helicoptering money. And then here's here's a study on it. We analyzed the effects of central bank independence on inflation for a sample of 118 developing countries between 1980 and 2013. We find that higher central bank independence is associated with lower inflation rates. This effect on inflation is stronger in the more democratic a country is, but it's also present in non-democratic countries. And then here they have the regression or whatever. So, and Trump ran on a platform, by the way, of saying, hey, I want to...
The Federal Reserve is a very interesting thing, and it's sort of gotten it wrong a lot. And
I want to have a say in the interest rate.
Things. He gets a little bit too early and a little bit too late. And, that's very largely it's a gut feeling. I believe it's really a gut feeling. And I used to have it out with him. I had it out with him a couple of times very strongly. I fought him very hard. And, we get along fine. But I feel that...
They get along fine. Jerome Powell will not fall, guys. He will not fall, okay? He will not. Hold on, hold on, give me a second. No, why does it just download? Discord videos used to be able to play in the browser. Okay, hold on, you guys won't be able to hear it if I do that. Fuck yeah, fuck Discord, dude. My man. My man.
Suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Face.
Follow up on, do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No.
Do you believe that the president has the power to fire or demote you, and has the Fed determined the legality of a president demoting at will any of the other governors with leadership positions?
Not permitted under the law.
Not what?
Not permitted under the law.
My man. My man. I love Jay Powell. My man. Hi. Why have politicians been blamed for economic situation? As they get blamed for now, if the Fed has so much free reign to impact the economic situation in the country, voters are dumb. So, like, obviously the president has some control over certain things. Like, you know, there are times where, like, fiscal, like, the American Rescue Plan was a, you know, act from Congress that Biden approved that came out of the Biden administration that clearly had a big impact on the economy. So, like, it's fair to even say Biden is responsible for some inflation in that sense, because the American Rescue Plan did probably increase inflation 3 percentage points or something. But I think voters just voters don't understand. I don't think most voters understand Federal Reserve independence. Yeah. Anyway. Well, someone's going to get declared enemy state, and SEAL Team 6 is going to got new orders. Oh, no, they can't go after my man Jay Powell, no. There's a good chance Trump just tries to fire Jay Powell. Now, debatable whether he can do that. Technically, there's no mechanism for it, but, he's not supposed to be able to, with the way the law is written. But Trump and his team probably believes that the way the law is written is unconstitutional, so they will try to get around it that way, because they'll do the unitary executive theory. Actually, Congress can't say that I can't fire this person who's technically in the executive branch, even though whether Federal Reserve is even in the executive branch is a little contentious because it's an independent thing. They'll say it's unconstitutional and try to remove him anyway. Trump can use powers to sabotage workers at the Fed by subpoena and harassment. Maybe. I don't think he's ever done that before, really. But I guess technically, like, he could order his DOJ to subpoena people, I guess. I just don't think it would go anywhere if... I don't think it would go anywhere if there wasn't actually any crime they committed. And technically that... ordering your DOJ to make fake subpoenas for people, I would assume is an impeachable offense. Now, he would never actually be impeached for it, but because that's the world we live in now. But like, people would rather live in a 2009 economy or 2001 economy, 2021 economy. I don't know. Declare Fed property public museum or something. True. I don't know. People prefer to live in the economy where their president is is in office. Yeah, I feel like voters have probably started to care more about inflation than they care about unemployment, and they care more about mortgage rates than they used to. I feel like those two things are well established. Trump says that he saw him possessing a CP, and then he goes bye-bye. Oh, maybe. I don't know. My man Jay Powell better not back down, okay? He didn't back down last time. Oh, the last time I don't think there was as big of a threat. But I would not want to be president if I did not have control of the Fed. What? Why? Independent central banks are based, okay? People just don't appreciate them enough. Okay, so assuming, kind of get back to read. Assuming the world price is not fixed, $100% legal can't be prosecuted. For what? For country H. so large compared to the market, world market for good F. That its demand for imports affects the world price for the good. Demand for its imports affects the world price. For saying you're selling with CP and ordering the DOJ to arrest him. Oh, sure, actually, yeah, true. You can tell your DOJ to do whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't matter if it's false claims. Absolutely, yeah, absolute immunity, right? You can tell Jeffrey Clark to send out fake letters of election fraud. That's absolutely immune. So, yeah, tell the DOJ to arrest him for CP because you saw him with it. Yeah, it's absolutely unreviewable. Court can't even look at it. If country H imposed a tariff on good F, thereby diminishing some demand for F, the price of the good F will decline in international markets. It's because the country H is by assumption imported enough to influence the world price for F. In other words, country H's terms of trade defined as the ratio of its price of exports to the price of imports have increased. That is, they have become more favorable. Country H can now get more imports for a given quantity of exports. But then, tariffs, good F. And this world price falls. It can actually gain a more favorable ratio of exports to imports, or the price of its exports. Not fun. Were you offline for like 20 minutes? So yeah, my stream fucking crashed. That happens. It's not the stream crashed. My Wi-Fi just pooped out. I do wonder if the same logic central bank should apply to the CDC or EPA or FDA or DOJ not being fireable. Well, what do you mean? Trump's position is unitary executive theory. Is that like my understanding is that Congress has the power to create agencies, and what the president is supposed to do is essentially execute the laws that Congress passes, right? So if Congress passes a law creating an agency, Congress at least believes it has the authority to say, Congress believes that it has the authority to say, we can make this agency, and within this agency, the rules are you can't fire these people in the agency, or you have to have cause for firing these people in the agency. And then the president just has to execute that law, and executing that law means he can't actually fire those people in the agency. Now, my understanding of the unitary executive theory position is that Congress can create agencies, but they don't have the authority to tell the president what to do within those agencies, because the executive branches are placed under the unitary authority of the executive. And therefore, Trump should have the right to basically fire whoever he wants within these agencies. That's my understanding. Like, impeachment should be the only way to remove. Oh, maybe. I mean, well, I'm pretty sure. I mean, like I just said, it depends on the agency for what the rules are, is my understanding. In your opinion, what's the worst that can happen in the economy in the event of the abolition of the Fed? In the event of the abolition of the Fed? In the event of an abolition of the Fed, there would be the worst case scenario would be another, I don't want to say another Great Depression is harsh, but like we could very easily imagine another financial crisis, and without the Fed response to calm that financial crisis, and ensure deposits, there'd be, bank runs, the financial system would collapse, and asset prices collapsing brings down even more banks, which causes more bank runs, and it's a fucking shit show. Yeah, that's why we insure deposits. That's why the Fed tries to stabilize the financial sector. That's why we do all these things. Just, I mean, yeah, imagine 2008 without the Fed insuring deposits, without bailing out some banks. Imagine if Silicon Valley Bank was able to, we didn't insure literally all of their deposits. Worst case scenario, mass starvation. I don't want to say that, but like, you know, another Great Depression, I would say, becomes more likely, even if not to the full extent of what the Great Depression is. What is a minimalist institution that can keep insurance deposits but not fiscal? What is a minimalist institution that can exist and keep insurance deposits but not the fiscal policy the Fed can't impact? Well, I shouldn't say the Fed. The Fed can't really impact fiscal policy. It can raise interest rates, which makes doing fiscal policy more expensive, or it can lower interest rates, which makes doing fiscal policy less expensive. And then the Fed can basically finance the Fed can basically supply the reserves for private companies to buy bonds. Under unitary executive theory, everyone with an agency under official capacity should have absolute criminal immunity. Scary. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's like, yeah. That kind of is the implication. Like, I actually, if you fully support the presidential immunity decision, what is the argument for at least the heads of executive agencies not having immunity too? Shouldn't they be absolutely immune for all their core constitutional acts? Like, although the same laws could apply for immunity for every single person under him. Yeah, like at the very least, like the heads of executive agencies should be criminally immune too, right? Like that seems reasonable under these same arguments. Why can't average citizens be financed by the Fed to buy bonds instead of big corp? Well, average citizens do buy bonds, but it's a lot of monetary stimulus is kind of regressive, but that's kind of the thing is asset prices are kind of what matters for a lot of financial stuff, and banks are affected in large part by asset prices too. So you don't want asset prices to fully fucking collapse. In the event of like a bank run or the event of like these financial crises, and then banks control lending, which lending. They create money when they lend, right? So you control the money supply by regulating banks. So that's why you do this stuff to banks and big financial institutions. I understand the frustration there with it being regressive, but I still think it's a net benefit to everyone. I mean, individual people also own assets, obviously. Like people's 401ks are greatly helped whenever the Fed bails someone out, right? Like, yeah, but like individual citizens don't control the money supply. Banks control the money supply. So that's like quantitative easing can be used to control the money supply. You can't really do that with the citizenry. Transfer of wealth or maintenance. I mean, I don't know if it's transfer of wealth or maintenance. By the way, deflation would be a transfer of wealth from debtors to creditors, and middle class people are usually debtors, and upper class people are usually creditors. So deflation, which the Fed tries to avoid at like all costs, would also be a wealth transfer. Of wealth to elite institutions and ultra high net worth individuals seems like what the Fed helps the most. I disagree, but there could be a corrupt future executive that goes after him after all. Yeah. Okay, whatever. Country A can now get more imports for a given quantity of exports. Potentially more, it could cancel out the debt weight export tariff, bring a net gain for the optimal for the protection of this country. This is why it is called the optimal tariff. This argument only applies to large countries whose trade can affect world prices. An optimal tariff cannot help small or poor countries. For the optimal tariff, there is zero. What does it imply for the United States? The United States is certainly a large country in terms of its economy. Only applies to credit card debt forgiveness, a thing the Fed would oppose. The Fed doesn't. That's a political thing. I don't think the Fed has no. I mean, they indirectly control. They have influence over the credit card interest rate because they set the federal funds rate, and they have other tools to manipulate interest rates, but that's not something at all in the Fed's like ability to oppose or support. That's a completely like political thing. Like, doesn't protect the president from future corrupt executive. Well, yeah. What's also what I hate about the fact that he's like never gonna go to. Well, I shouldn't say maybe he'll go to prison for something, but probably not gonna go to prison for anything now. Probably not gonna stand federal trial for anything. I mean, I doubt he'll go to prison for anything, but like maybe after he's president, the Georgia RICO case continues, and maybe Georgia gets him or something. But like, yeah, is that like future 100% future corrupt people are gonna look at this and be like, hey, remember that when that fucking president tried to overturn an election and then nothing happened to that dude? Maybe I should try to do something like that, you know, maybe. Yeah, not ideal. Okay, only applies to countries large enough to affect the world price. The United States is a large country. American imports make about 70% of the total merchandise imports, compared to 14% for Europe and 13% in China. And the United States accounts for about a fourth of world GDP. However, the optimal tariff argument applies only to specific markets in which the large country can move prices. It only applies to specific markets. He will be dead before jail. Yeah, there's a good chance of that too. Yep. With regard to the American economy, it may apply to, say, the large airliners, but arguably not to most imported goods. Furthermore, there's no optimal tariff in which retaliation by other countries leads to a trade war. Also, no optimal tariff when retaliation by other countries leads to a trade war. Bye, Tron. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you being here. See you later. So how would, in your view, the existence of the Fed without power to raise interest rates? I want them to have the power to raise interest rates. How would you view it, like, how would you view the existence of the Fed without the power to raise rates? What would they even do? They'd, I guess, have banking, right? Like, I think it would still be preferable to having no Fed at all, because having them regulate banks would be good. Having them control the reserve ratio, so they still have some control over the money supply, I guess. Just insurance? Well, do you mean just the FDIC? Also, raise which interest rate? They have, there's a number of interest rates that they can manipulate with a number of tools. Just FDIC? I mean, FDIC is good, I think, but it's not nearly enough, I don't think. In which many countries rate protectionist barriers. In general, it is fair to say that the truly optimal tariff is zero. Note that, unlike an optimal tariff, an export subsidy can never be optimal. That is, it can never carry net benefits for the residents of the country whose government does the subsidization. Unlike tariffs, an export subsidy can never be optimal. Never carries net benefits for the residents of the country. Would the president have the power to cut Fed's power? No, not really. Congress does, but the president, Congress could pass a law changing it, right? Congress could pass a law saying the Federal Reserve must target NGDP. I think technically the Fed could, on its own, decide to target NGDP, but Congress could pass a law saying we think the Fed should target NGDP now. This is the explicit thing the Fed should target, and then that would go to the president's desk, and he could veto it or not veto it. But that's about it. Not really. I mean, unless it's with the full unitary executive view, then like the president would, at the end of the day, have the control. Where does Fed profits go? I don't think that's a good way to view the Fed. Okay, the Fed doesn't have profits and losses, just like the scorekeeper in. What's up? Hello?
What's up? What's up? I see you're reading the book.
I am reading the book, yeah.
Yeah, that's based. That's based. I recommend reading it in Zotero or like any app that lets you like highlight the PDF, because you can summarize it in your notes. That's cool, but I also like highlighting and taking notes in the PDF itself. So once I debate someone and they bring up a point, I can just skip to that chapter and see directly in front of my eyes
Yeah,
the
sure.
relevant line.
I did download
Or whatever.
Zotero, but I didn't.
Yeah, it's cool. Zotero, I mean, if you use the free plan, you can upload up to 300 megabytes of PDF files. So that's very little, like, or any files. So that's like not at all. That's very,
Yeah.
that's tiny. But yeah, there are fuck, what's it called? There are like extensions to Zotero that let you, use Google Drive or whatever to upload. There's also, it's called Notero. It's like it's an extension that like connects Notion and Zotero. So that's cool. But yeah, either way. So good. You're reading that book. What page are you on right now?
44 the PDF, which is 27 of the actual book. I keep getting distracted by chat, but we're getting
Yeah,
there.
that's good. That's good. Either way, that's fine. When did you start reading it?
Like maybe 2 hours ago, maybe
Okay,
3 hours
okay.
ago, something like that.
Then grind that book, okay? There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's also incomplete. Like the chapters are really like short. It could go into way more depth. I suspect like Cato or whatever have articles that are more extensive on each point, but this book is on the whole more comprehensive. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Good luck.
Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, can you share with me your notes when you're done?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, bye.
Bye. Anyway, saying the Fed has profits and losses is kind of weird. I wouldn't. They're a central bank. Like they can't go bankrupt. They can create money. They like. It's just, I don't think that's a good framework for viewing the Fed. Is he your schoolmate? No. He's an awesome based Discord user. Okay, anyway, exports. No, don't carry net benefits. Blah, 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 blah. Suppose H is a large country whose government subsidies export widgets. The supply of widgets increase and their price will fall on the world markets. Consumers of widgets both in H and foreign countries benefits, as do the producers in subsidized H. But in terms of trade, H has deteriorated as it now gets a lower price for its imports. So there's no improvement in the terms of trade that could compensate for the deadweight loss that the subsidy, like taxes or tariff, cause. Moreover, the subsidies to exports and instead of tariffs on imports, money flows out, not into the treasury. So treasury revenues cannot compensate for the deadweight loss either. Even in a small country, export subsidies will carry a net cost because they represent a straight transfer from domestic taxpayers to domestic producers. And the existence of a deadweight loss implies the latter gain less in the former lose. country H. It's a large country that subsidizes the export of widgets. The exports of widgets will increase. And the price will fall on world markets. Do you have any opinions on how a foreign country to best react to Fed's policy remaining in place? No. Consumers, of which is both H and foreign countries benefit, as do producers and subsidizing H. However, in the terms of trade, H has actually deteriorated, as it now gets a lower price for its exports. Or sorry, for its imports. So there's no improvement in terms of trade that can compensate for the deadweight loss. Moreover, the subsidies take money from the government rather than raise it. So revenues cannot compensate for the deadweight loss either. Can Fed transfer funds directly to individuals and institutions account as it pleases? Kind of. I mean, they can, well, you say transfer fund. They can do quantitative easing, which they purchase stuff. Which has the effect of transferring funds. Well, I mean, it transfers funds, but it also takes away their bonds. So, even in small countries, export subsidies will carry a net cost because they represent a straight transfer from domestic taxpayers to domestic producers, and the existence of deadweight loss implies the latter. Gain less than the former lose. We can understand how the Chinese government subsidization of products like steel or solar panels hurts the Chinese even more than does a straight domestic subsidy with no impact on world prices, because China is a large producer of steel and solar panels on the world market. So subsidies push down the world price of the subsidized products, which means that in China's terms of trade deteriorate. Foreign consumers, including American consumers, benefit from the lower world price, but Chinese residents, except the producers, bear the cost. How long will a hapless China accept this? This is why China's subsidization of products like steel or solar panels hurts the Chinese even more than does a straight domestic subsidy with no impact on world prices. I'll just say hurts the Chinese. I don't care about the relativity of it. Since China is a large producer of solar panels, subsidies push down the price on subsidized products, which means that China's terms of trade deteriorate. the same time, foreign consumers benefit from the lower world prices. Do you support if government subsidizes farmers and small businesses involved in production? It depends. You're going to have to be more specific than that. There you have to prove either some national security concern or some positive externality. If it was one of those two things, and maybe other things, there's more, I can't think of them, then I would generally support it. But like with food, you could argue like some level of food production should be here for national security concerns. Or I'm trying to think of something that would be like a positive externality, but another reason to doubt the benefit of optimal tariff for a large country is the integration of supply chains. Because the world economy has become more integrated and efficient, many supply chains extend over several countries, and a significant portion of a country's production and export incorporates inputs that are rendered more expensive by tariffs and other trade barriers. It's estimated that over 1/2 of all U.S. imports serve as intermediate inputs in domestic processes. Conversely, many goods imported into the United States have American contents. A smartphone imported from China typically has been designed and engineered in California and was only assembled in China, with components made or designed in half a dozen Asian and European countries and metals from Africa. Likewise, notes the economist, every dollar of Mexican exports contains with it about 40 cents of American output embedded within it. To help securing make autonomous local economy, help with onshoring. Unless onshoring is a positive externality or a major national security concern, I don't see a good reason to do it. Autonomous local economy, again, if it's a national security thing, then maybe. But that's about it. As supply chains have grown more complex, optimal tariffs are rendered increasingly questionable. Existence of optimal tariffs. Estimated that over half of its imports serve as intermediate inputs for domestic processes. Conversely, many goods imported into the United States have American contents. Also have American contents. A smartphone imported from China, made typically designed, blah, 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 blah. Every dollar of Mexican exports contained with it about 40 cents of American output embedded with it. Why isn't it by default beneficial regarding the security considerations? Like, obviously, it would be help ensuring the flow of product for local consumers, and it's good for security. Why homework all the time? It's not all the time. For food, you can kind of make the national security argument, but for other things, it's a lot more sketchy. So if you just want to do food, and some of that might be fine. But you say, like, benefits local consumers. Well, local consumers are already saying that it benefits them more to import their food. Their revealed preference is for buying foreign food. That's their revealed preference. They have money. They could use that money on local food, or they could use it on imported food. They prefer the imported food because it's cheaper. Sometimes it's higher quality. It can be grown year round rather than if it was only grown in a local community, it wouldn't be able to be grown year round. Yeah, the free market aggregates information. The government doesn't have the information for whether people prefer food grown locally or food grown in other countries. The good thing about the free market is that it takes all of these individual preferences and it aggregates them, and it knows, it has the information that consumers tend to prefer the imported fruits for whatever reason. Okay, we must remember that the usual way speaking about countries importing exporting is merely a linguistic shortcut. Individual firms are the ones that import or export, not countries. Countries or societies are collections of individuals, not superorganisms. It can be grown if it's indoor farming investment, a priority from government and business. But what's the aim there? If it's you could argue national security to some extent, but I don't know how well that argument holds up considering. Food should only be grown locally and indoor. I don't have a problem with the U.S. importing a lot of its food from our allies. Like maybe there's some concerns when it comes to China, because China can cut off our food supply. Maybe there's some concerns there. So indoor farming is a thing, can be scaled. My understanding is that indoor farming, the vertical farming stuff, we were talking about this earlier on stream, can be done, but my understanding is that right now it's very energy intensive, which is why it's not very common. Again, the free market aggregates this information, right? It aggregates everyone's preferences for food grown locally, food grown indoors versus outdoors, food grown overseas. The government does not have this information. Individuals do, and the free market aggregates it. It's beautiful. Energy literally comes from the sun. Okay, so the funny thing about being indoors is that the sun doesn't get through to indoors. Austin, when you have vertical farming, the funny thing about vertical farming is that it's vertical and the sun can't shine. So you have like shelves of food and the sun can't actually reach those ones. Isn't that crazy? Wait, why do you guys think vertical farming isn't already done at large scale? To be clear, I could be wrong here, but this is my understanding, is that vertical farming is energy intensive. Vertical farms have significantly higher average energy use as opposed to traditional greenhouses. That's crazy, dude. If my understanding is right, I have to Google it. That's the first thing that comes up. 62% less energy than typical vertical farms. Yeah, but see how this is see how all these require individual lights? And they come up with their whatever new system this is to not have individual lights, but it still takes quite a bit of light. Okay. All benefits accrue to individuals and all costs are paid by individuals. This approach is best based on a methodological individualism. The theory that we should understand society and the economy by explaining individual actions and their consequences. In a free country, the idea that individuals are the actors. It's also recognized as political value. Saying that the benefits of free trade for a country are greater than its cost means that individuals in a country obtain, in total, more benefits than cost. For these reasons, we may confidently conclude that free trade brings net benefits to a country, and that, on the contrary, protectionism harms a country. Or expressing this conclusion more freely, free trade brings benefits to most residents of a country, while protectionism harms them. Okay. Fuck, oops. For these reasons, free trade brings net benefits to countries. Net benefits to a country. Or more accurately, free trade brings benefits to most residents of a country, while protectionism harms them. I'll say that's the opposite because I didn't include some of the other things. Imports are not a deduction from GDP. I already know this, but oh my god. Okay. We'll read this. And then I think I'm probably going to go play Overwatch with my buddy. One common argument, often echoed by financial journalists, is that imports are a subtraction from the calculation of GDP. Common argument, often often made by the media, is that imports subtract from GDP. It's Econ 101. Or subtraction from GDP. In a letter to the Wall Street Journal, future Commerce Secretary Wilbur Roy repeated the error. It's Econ 101 that GDP equals the sum of domestic economic activity plus net exports, i.e. exports minus imports. He wrote, therefore, when we run a massive chronic trade deficit, it weakens our economy. The implication is that if imports in the trade deficit are reduced, GDP will expand. The implication being that if we reduce imports, GDP will expand. This is a misunderstanding of how GDP is calculated. Not Econ at all. It's the opposite of what any macroeconomic textbook explains, and the argument is false according to simple accounting. It comes from a misunderstanding of the accounting identity using the National Income and Products Account. Which says GDP is spent on, okay, the standard equation is as follows. It says GDP is spent on consumer expenditures, business investment. Describes GDP. It's spent on consumer, all that stuff. And the difference between exports and imports. Rewriting it, we can see how the air is made. This seems to imply that a trade surplus, a positive x minus m, as a GDP, or as a trade deficit, x minus m subtracts from it. We have the tariff to protect American industries and generate revenue for the federal government. Don't you hate the federal government? Don't you not want them to have revenue anyway? Do they even need the tariff revenue if they have? What do you think about oil companies being subsidized in the present system? How much are they subsidized in the present system? I don't know. Like, it can oil could make sense for national security. Also, cheap energy is just really good. It's really good to have cheap energy. Like, so it could make sense. I don't know a ton about it. I don't know how much we subsidize oil companies. I don't know. We need no inland federal taxes. You know tariffs are paid by American consumers, right? At any rate, somebody not familiar with national accounting like this, Ross will do this at imports to reduce GDP. This deduction is wrong. Wrong. They're paid by American businesses and American consumers. If you believe otherwise, you have been actively lied to. Wait, localists, do you believe it was bad that Biden canceled the Keystone Pipeline? Answer that, 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 answer that. Who should own natural resources in your ideal society? I think resource rents should be socialized, but private companies are probably best at extracting it. Just tax them. It's bad to cancel the Keystone. Okay, localists, do you believe that we should tariff Canadian oil? Answer that. Answer. Do you think we should tariff Canadian oil? I have no clue, man. Okay. Nice one. Okay. Well, it's that at least. I don't like Canada, so I'm down for it. Okay, so you're aware that Keystone Pipeline was taking oil from Canada to the U.S., right? You know that, right? So you understand tariffing Canadian oil, all Canadian oil at 10%, it's probably actually worse than canceling one pipeline from Canada. I understand it was an important pipeline, but one pipeline from Canada to the U.S. Like, if I had to choose between canceling one pipeline and tariffing all Canadian oil at 10%, I'm fine with siphoning Canadians' oil. Okay, well, also, tariffs are paid by American importers. You know that, right? Companies and consumers. Can you admit that, or at least the vast majority of the incidents is on American consumers and American companies? You're aware of that, right? Only indirectly? Well, it's indirectly paid by consumers. It's directly paid by companies, but they usually pass that cost on to consumers. So you can say it's indirectly, but it's not like when we look at tax incidents, we take that's what you measure. If we raise the corporate tax, corporate profits tax, right? And they raise prices, then the incidence of that tax did fall on consumers, even if it was indirect, right? That's how the tax incidence works. Now, from an accounting perspective, it was only indirectly paid by the consumers, sure, but it doesn't change the fact that the tax incidence fell on the consumers. You admit that the majority of tax incidence falls in the U.S., right? It falls on American companies and American consumers. You admit that, right? You recognize that. What happens is CING already included imports, goods, and services. However, I don't know about Jordy. The evidence shows it's almost always paid entirely by by the country that imposes the tariffs. When it came to China, because China is willing to subsidize its exports, it was only 92.5% was paid by the U.S. So really saved us there. No, 92.5% paid by the U.S. consumer. What a great deal. That was China, the country most willing to subsidize their exports. However, this fails to account for the fact that CING already include imported goods and services. The Chinese-made fishing rod the consumer bought at Walmart was captured by C. The printing of the press paper of a company in Germany was captured by I, and the salary of the foreign consultant hired by government was included in G. M is subtracted on the right side of the equation to exclude those imports from the calculation of GDP. As its name indicates, gross domestic product is the sum of all goods and services produced within a country's territory, so the term minus M is meant to cancel out imports that are hidden in CING. Imports are not deduced from GDP. They cannot reduce the statistical measure of GDP because, by definition, they are not a part of it. Imports cannot reduce GDP. I'm willing to pay premium to get Chinese goods. Anything to support our greatest ally. True. Imports cannot reduce GDP, since by definition, they are not a part of it. GDP measures all goods and services produced within a country's territory. American consumers and businesses do use part of the GDP they produce, that is their incomes, to import goods and services, but this does not mean that it reduces their production. If you buy a home appliance imported from China, you are not reducing your salaries to do so, but using what you have earned to obtain something that is worth more to you than the dollars you earned. Crazy. Calculating 2. The trade deficit is bad. Okay, from page 48 to page 55. Ah, it's not that long. What's the essay about? The balance of trade, which I already understand. Okay, well, I had a good stream. I didn't stream with that. Well, I streamed longer than I thought, actually, because the fucking stream crashed. I've been streaming almost 6 hours. But Overwatch Classic is out, okay? So I'm going to go play that. I was streaming it tomorrow. We're having a debate tomorrow. We're CTV, 8 p.m. tomorrow. Cost you a 17 cents to be on our bill, but countries have to pony up $100 of actual goods to obtain one. So true. Anyway, I love streaming. Love that you guys watch me stream. I will stream again tomorrow. Appreciate all you guys being here. I can rate a song. But isn't GDP for measuring debt as a percentage of GDP. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, bye, Kyle. I guess go to Mooncakes. I don't really know who this person is, but I am following them for some reason. So head over there. Love streaming. Love you guys watch my stream. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks, chat. I use PPG to measure GDP based. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Debate 8 p.m. tomorrow. Come watch that. Thanks. Bye.